Alrighty guys, welcome back to Star Wars Review. Today I'm reviewing The High Republic, The Blade, Issue 1, which was written by Charles Soule with art by Marco Castiello, and it came out on December 28th, 2022, which I really like the issue. It sets up where Porter Engle is at this time, as this story takes place about 150 years before most of the other stories we see him in Phase 1 stories. So, he's a lot older during those and a lot younger during this story. But really the biggest thing from the issue is it introduces us to the character Barash Sylvain, who's a Jedi and is like a sister to Porter. But we've heard the name Barash a few times, originally in Soule's Darth Vader comic series, where we saw a Jedi named Kirak Infala, who took the Barash vow, which is a vow a Jedi can take if they want to step away from the Jedi orders and the duties of it to, commit fully to the Force and, to, find their way as a Jedi again. But obviously, Barash Sylvain is still a Jedi in this issue, so I'm assuming we'll see the origins of the Barash vow and what leads her to creating it. But I also enjoyed the art in the issue. I thought that was solid. But I really liked the first half of the issue as we see Porter on this world named the Bone World, which it starts with him cooking, which was fun, as in the Phase 1 stories. We see that in his older age, he mainly liked to cook rather than fight or anything like that. But in the Phase 1 stories, it seems like he's actually a good cook. Where in this issue, we see him make this soup and he gives it to some people who then call it disgusting, which I thought was funny. And, I enjoyed the cook aspect of him in Phase 1. And so I liked kind of seeing how different of a place Porter is at right now through his cooking. But we then see Barash tell him that there's a commotion going on outside, and so we see him head out, which he takes a stack of sabacc cards with him and starts fiddling with them by kind of floating them up in the air and whatnot with the Force. But we see these two Twi'leks, a female and a male, which the male's name was Dreg, but we see them bothering this Natulin named Raylan as they're accusing him of stealing something. So Porter goes up to them and introduces himself and Barash and tries to ask, what the issue is, which eventually Dreg tells him that Raylan has some mineral called amber crystals, which he says Raylan found on his land, but Raylan says he got it elsewhere. It was only on Dreg's land because he was lost. But Dreg and the other Twi'lek, not buying anything Raylan is saying, pull their blasters on him, which we then see Barash tell Porter that she's certain Raylan is telling the truth. So Porter tries to get the Twi'leks to back down, but instead, they then point their blasters at him, and they start firing, which Porter quickly draws his lightsaber and blocks all the blaster shots into the sabacc cards he's been floating in the air, which then gets the Twi'leks to drop their weapons and run away. But afterwards, Porter tells Raylan to cash out on his amber crystals and maybe get off-world, as Porter says him and Barash will be leaving soon, and he has a feeling the Twi'leks will be back. And so then, Porter and Barash leave the Bone World, which we then get a flashback to when Porter and Barash were younglings, as we see them learning about lightsabers and lightsaber dueling, which afterwards, Porter notices Barash is alone and kind of goes up to her and starts talking to her. First, if, she likes lightsabers, which she doesn't seem to care for them that much. But they then introduce themselves, and I guess they've recently been changed from their previous youngling groups. And so, Porter is trying to make a new friend, but Barash doesn't seem to care for friendship that much, but does agree to try to be friends with Porter, which I thought was a cute moment. But we then see back in the present as they're on a transport shuttle, as they need to head to this office of the Frontier, which seems to be a hub for the Frontier worlds, and a place for the Jedi and Pathfinder teams to come and find new missions, or petitions, as they call them, which at this office, Porter and Barash kind of go up to a droid who hands out the missions, and Barash, I guess, guides herself with the Force to select one, which the one she selects is on the world Gansavor, as some fortress city is being besieged by a rival faction's army, and so they're asking for the help of the Jedi. But Gansavor isn't in any trade or transport route, and Barash and Porter don't have a ship, so they need to find a way to the planet, which, Porter suggests, just taking a new task, but Barash says they'll find a way, which is when a Jedi of a Pathfinder team overhears their situation and offers transport to Gansavor on the Pathfinder's ship, which Barash and Porter accept. And so later we see them on the ship, where we see Porter talking with one of the Pathfinders named Sally Opa, about the work the Pathfinders do, which during this, Porter introduces himself, by name to the Pathfinder, which I guess he hadn't done so to the other Jedi, as the Jedi Master named Helion Volt overhears and knows who Porter is, and knows Porter is a great duelist, and so Helion asks if they can duel Porter, which Porter accepts, and he bests Volt in the sparring match by using the Force to float his lightsaber, and then he pulls a second one out from under his sleeve and bests Volt, which I thought was cool. But then Sally talks more with Porter and Barash about how they won't be able to communicate with them on Gansavor because there's no communication network there, but they can give them some EX droids, which can physically send messages. But Barash says that Gansavor is a civilized world and that they don't need the droids. And so they'll go there, and once the Pathfinder team is done with their mission, they can come pick Porter and her back up because she thinks everything will be fine. But the final shot from the issue shows a war-torn city on Gansavor, alluding to that, everything won't be fine. And that's where the issue ends. Like I said, I quite enjoyed it. I liked the setup, introducing us to the characters, or reintroducing us with Porter, but at a completely different time than we've seen him before. But so far I'm into the relationship between Barash and Porter, and I'm excited to dive more into it in the next issues. But I'm also excited to see what this mission to Gansavor will be about, and what I assume will bring Barash to create the Barash vow. Yeah, anyways, my grade for the issue is going to be a A-. So yeah, but next I'll review The High Republic, The Battle of Jedha, the audio drama. So you can check that out next. But in the meantime, check out all my other Phase 2 reviews and all my Phase 1 High Republic videos and everything else to do. But even Star Wars review, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.